It is you in the final analysis, always you, the decisive factor who decide whatsoever happens to you. Remember it. This is the very key. If you are unhappy, it is you. If you are not living rightly, it is you. If you are missing, it is you. The responsibility is totally yours. Don't be afraid of this responsibility. Many people become too much afraid of the responsibility because they don't see the other side of the coin. On one side is written responsibility. On another side is written freedom. Responsibility means freedom. If somebody else is forcing you to be in misery, then you cannot get out of it. How can you get out of it if somebody else is forcing you into misery? Unless the other decides not to make you miserable, you can never get out of it. If it is you who are responsible for your misery, then it is for you to decide. If you are enjoying being miserable, be miserable thousandfold. There is no problem. Enjoy. If you are not enjoying it, then drop it. Be clear-cut. What I see is people go on thinking that they want to be happy, but what can they do? They are being forced to be miserable. This is absolutely absurd. Nobody is forcing anybody. Nobody can force anybody to be miserable. A man who knows how to be happy becomes happy in any sort of situation. You cannot give him any situation in which he will not find something to be happy about. And there are persons who have learned the trick of being unhappy. You cannot give them any situation in which they will not find something to be unhappy about. Whatsoever you want to find, you will find. Life goes on, supplying all sorts of things to you. You choose. I have heard 2 men were imprisoned. It was a full moon night. Both were standing near the window of their dark cell. The full moon was there. One was looking at the moon, and it was the rainy season. Must have been like these days, and there was much water and mud just in front of the window. Dirty, and it was smelling and stinking. One man continued to look at the moon. The other continued to look at the mud. And the man who was looking at the mud, of course, was feeling very miserable. And the man who was looking at the moon was aflame, aglow. His face was reflecting the moon. His eyes were full of beauty. He had completely forgotten that he was imprisoned. Both are standing at the same window, but they are choosing different things. There are people. If you take them to a rose bush, they will count the thorns. They are great calculators. Their mathematics is always right, and when they have counted thousands of thorns, it is simply logical that they will not be able to see the one rose flower. In fact, their inner world will say, "How is it possible? Amidst so many thorns, how is a rose flower possible? It must be a deception. It must be illusory, or even if it is possible, it is worthless." Then there are people who have never known the thorns of a rose bush. They look at the rose, and looking at the rose, feeling the rose, the beauty of it, celebrating the moment, they come to feel that even thorns are not so thorn-like. How can they be when they are growing on the same rose bush as the rose flower? When their mind is focused on the rose flower, they start looking at thorns also in a different way. They start thinking that thorns are there to protect the rose flower. They are no longer ugly. They are no longer irrelevant. They are no longer a positive attitude arises. It is up to you to make whatsoever you want out of your life. An enlightened consciousness makes even death beautiful. An unenlightened consciousness makes even life ugly. For an enlightened consciousness, only beauty exists, only beauty, only bliss exists, only bliss. So the question is not how to change ugliness into beauty, how to change pain into pleasure, how to change misery into happiness. No, the question is how to change the unconscious into conscious, the unenlightened attitude into the enlightened attitude, how to change your inner world of being, how to attain to life affirmative values and drop life negative values. Love. The attitude is everything. Negative attitudes negate life. They are good for dying, but not good for living. Life needs positive attitudes. Life feeds on them because they not only make you happy, but creative also. Once there lived an old woman, but the older she became, the younger she felt. Because youthfulness has nothing to do with age. It is an attitude. And with age and its richness, one can really be younger than the young. The old woman was so cheerful and creative that everyone wondered at her. "But you must have some clouds in your life," said a visitor. "Clouds," she replied. "Why, of course. If there were no clouds, where would the blessed showers come from? In the presence of trouble, and there are troubles in life, the positive mind grows wings, but others buy crutches. Grow wings and do not buy crutches." Buddha mentioned 3 psychological steps in human life. The concept of psychology which Buddha used is very simple, including 3 couples of words: sweet taste, bitter taste, and taste of freedom. Sweet taste symbolizes the period or mode of living in which we have full happiness, affection, and peacefulness in the reunion of family. We gain all best things, but most sweet tastes do not exist long in our life. Some are very dangerous, like flies die easily in honey, so we can lose our future if we follow such sweet taste. The nature of refreshing life and its necessary demand is not to find sweet tastes which make us tired after we enjoy. Bitter taste often appears when sweet taste has not been influential in our life anymore. It makes us very tired and regretful about everything that does not happen, like a secondary and direct response when we lose sweet taste because of seduction, a mistake, or carelessness. We must live to suffer patiently in a bad circumstance as a result. If that bitter taste is a necessary result of enjoying sweet taste in the wrong method, the time to spend it is very long. It can be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or even during life. In the period of spending bitter taste, Buddha teaches that we shouldn't be discouraged because this psychological state cannot help us to solve any problem. But from bitter taste, we often have a strong urge to rescue from circumstances or make the best efforts to end the period of spending bitter taste. That is an indispensable causal rule in life. When we realize clearly sweet taste, bitter taste, and the taste of rescue, we can understand thoroughly the nature of life, human feelings, and relationships in social life. We need to remember to manage to gain the best taste of rescue in order to end bitter taste. The more we work well, practice well, live well, the more we end bitter taste. So, the standard of refreshing life is to change or to die. This standard is very strong and impressive because we are placed in front of a choice. If we don't change habits, don't go for a perfect life, don't refresh awareness, aren't optimistic, don't have an active spirit to find long, valuable happiness, our life is equated with death. A death in suffering, standstill, and obstacle. When we set up such standards, we should face bitter tastes instead of fleeing them like a tortoise that always withdraws its head and 4 limbs into the shell. During the time the tortoise flees, it feels safe because bigger animals and storms in life cannot hurt it. But when it pokes its head out of the shell and goes ahead, all difficulties are still waiting for it. So, if we don't face difficulties to manage to overcome, our fleeing is not a solution. In other words, it can be a very big standstill, which we need to pay attention. So the nature of life exists in 2 contents. Firstly, we need to direct to the quality of life. A life that has good quality is not one in which there is a big house full of physical means, but one in which we live happily and suitably according to the rule of social morals. We have joy in the reunion of family, have affection and interdependence with other people. Such life is the quality and material of a happy life for all people, not only for the rich. If we change our life trend, we will still have good quality and material of life in any circumstance. Therefore, we shouldn't have any complex, but we should replace this complex with efforts in order to have happiness in life.